Hey everyone, so I have been feeling a little bit under the weather lately and not really up to vlogging. So we're just going to do another couch vlog today, kind of to catch you up on where I am in my November reads. And yeah, I thought I would just show you a couple of books that I picked up this past weekend. And yeah, we're just going to sort of catch up and do a little impromptu vlog. And then I'm hoping that the next vlog that you guys are going to see will be the anticipated December read. Now, on the day that I am filming, which is November 11th, the Goodreads Choice Awards have come out with a lot of their nominees. However, I am, as you guys might imagine, a little bit behind on most of whatever has been current for this year because I'm just sort of new-ish. It's only been a year that I'm in the booktube space. So I'm actually going to steer away from that because I took a look at the list of nominees and there are a lot of books there that I'm unfamiliar with, both the books and the authors. So maybe this is something that I might like to do next November, but for this November, I don't really know too much about what's going on in the bookish community God, my hair is like really terrible. I just got out of a shower, so it's drying. It's doing like a fuzzy thing, but we're going to talk over it. So anyway, I'm not going to be reporting on the Goodreads Choice Awards because basically I haven't read enough of them, enough of the books, and don't know enough about the authors to really give my 2 cents where it matters. But like I said, we're going to talk about what this past week has been like for me in reading. So I have completed Paladin's Hope, which is the third in this series of the Saint of Steel series by T. Kingfisher. This one here is a queer romance. It's, did everything I wanted it to do. We have Galen and Piper. Piper, who is has like a special ability, which I don't want to talk too much about because that's going to give away an integral part of the story. And Galen, who is a berserker paladin. So if you guys are familiar with the series, you will know exactly who and what I'm talking about. But yeah, you still see some recurring characters from the first 2 novels. Like I think Istvan is mentioned, and I know we definitely see Stephen again. So not too much is concentrated around those 2, but they do make appearances here and there. So again, this is a much shorter book than the other 2, and I did this one on audio as well, but I can't remember if I reported on this book or not. But anyway, I finished this one, so that's where I am so far in the month, but we could talk about it more at the November monthly wrap-up. Another book that I finished is Emma Donohue's Room. This one is an oldie, but definitely a goodie. It was published originally in 2010, and it centers around a mom and a son, the mother who has been kidnapped 7 years prior to when we meet her in the story, and the son who is 5, and he has grown up in this room, is the entire world that he knows, and everything has a name from sink to blanket to rug to chair, because everything is personified for Jack. And yeah, so it's just the story of him and his mom living in this room, and we get to learn how they got there and whatever happens to them. So I also did this book on audio. I think I mentioned it in a previous vlog saying how it was going to take some time for me to get used to the voice of it because I wasn't exactly sure why I thought that a 5-year-old character would have a more mature sounding voice. But in the end, I did end up completing the audiobook. I think it was 10 or 11 hours. And I really, really enjoyed this book. I want to say that I gave it 4 stars, I think. I'll correct it on the screen if I'm wrong. But I really, really enjoyed this book, so much so that I went and watched the movie. Now, I didn't actually know that this was made into a movie. And the movie, I think, stars Brie Larson, and it was released in 2015. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. It did have a few differences from the movie, but they both held their own really, really well. So I would recommend this one to you guys. And again, we'll recap it briefly at the end of the month. I just finished reading The Twyford Code by Janice Hallett. This I just finished maybe, I want to say like 15 minutes ago, which is kind of what inspired me to get on the vlog, because as I finished this one, I went and put up my Goodreads rating, which I gave this one a 4. I really enjoyed it. As I said to you guys before about Janice Hallett, she writes in this sort of alternative prose, whether it's mixed media or epistolarian, or I think this one you could probably consider more or less epistolary because it's not diary entries per se, but it is the main protagonist recording voice audio files into his phone throughout the whole novel. So yeah, I think it could be considered epistolary in nature, but in any case, if you like diary entries or just alternative media prose, this author will do it for you. There are 2 other books of hers. I want to say The Appeal and then The Apperton Angels that I haven't read yet, but those are on my radar. So I'm definitely going to be working on this author's backlist. I can't say when. I'm not going to be buying them because, again, I don't reread mystery thrillers. These are things that I try and use my library for, but I really did enjoy this one. So basically in this book, you have Stephen Smith, who goes by Smithy, and he is an ex-con, and he is coming to terms with a little bit of his childhood, what led him to jail, and the disappearance of his remedial English teacher from high school when they were about 13 or 14 years old. They went on an unofficial class trip, and the teacher disappeared, and Stephen, his entire life has been plagued by the mystery of what has happened to Miss Isles, and he sort of is on this quest to go and find her in his adulthood after he has left prison. So that is sort of the setup for this story, and I really, really liked it, and I really think it's worth the read. Lots of reveals, but you know, if you know me at all, you will know that I'm not somebody that sits through a mystery thriller novel trying to figure out who done it. It doesn't interest me to figure out who the person is responsible for the murders or who the culprit is. I don't really care. I'm just along for the ride, because when I'm along for the ride, instead of trying to figure it out the entire time, I find that I have a much better reception of a mystery thriller when I'm not trying to be the critic from the get-go. I figure if I'm along for the ride, the payoff is that I'm surprised at the end. And that's what I want. I want to be surprised at the end. So I'm not trying to overthink these books too much. Let me know if you guys are people that try and solve the mysteries when you're in them, or if you prefer to have that payoff at the end, or if you're somewhere in between. Anyway, I really liked this book. I felt that it kept giving and giving and giving, and you know, there was one reveal and then another reveal and then more reveals, and then you're left sort of questioning everything you've read at the end. Anyway, very good book. So that one has to go back to the library. Then I picked up The Language of Ghosts. I'm not too far into it. I haven't even finished reading the prologue yet, but it was at this point that I started reading it and said to myself, oh shit, I don't have content for the last week of November. I need to record something, even if it's a shitty vlog. So here it is, you guys, you're getting a shitty vlog. So I'm gonna try and get more into this book. This book came recommended to me by Danny of Danny Dabbles, and I kind of like the premise of a floating island. That's as much as I know about it so far. So we have these three siblings. We have Julian, we have Noah, and we have Mita, and they are sort of on the run from their council of counselors? I don't know. They're on the run from like the court. So their mom, the queen, has just died a week before we meet them. And Julian is 16 and he's then become the new queen. But there's this like nefarious counselor by the name of Xavier who wants to take over ruling, I guess, this island, this floating island that they're on. And they have a pet dragon who kind of lies around like a rug and doesn't really respond even when assassins come in to try and kill them as they're sleeping. Kind of a useless dragon, but it's a fun concept. And their magic system is a little unusual, so I'm just going to read to you a little part where it's explained here on page 8. It says, most magicians could speak only one of the 9 languages of magic. They were born knowing how. It wasn't something you could learn. The common ones were salt, the language of the sea, and worm, the language of the earth. Magicians who could speak more than one magical language could weave them together into complex spells, which was dark magic. Dark mages were rare, though no one knew exactly how rare, for many lived in secret. Most people distrusted their gifts. Their mother had been the first dark mage to rule Florian. So I'm excited to explore a little bit more about this family, their magic system, again, the floating island, which I guess is traveling around the ocean with the aid of a serpent, which I don't know if you guys can see that in the cover. But again, I'm only on page 8 or 9. I really just started reading this before I gave up on it to sort of, well, I didn't give up on it, but before I paused it to start recording this vlog. It is a middle grade. It's suggested for readers between ages 8 and 12. But again, it's just sort of like a palate cleanser for me after reading a couple of really heavy books. I'm eager to go into a fantasy novel that isn't going to require 600 pages of me, so I am going to try and read this one this week, or that at least is going to be the plan. I haven't made any progress in this one. Again, the bookmark is there from the same place you saw it last time. I wanted to try the other one, The Language of Ghosts, first before going into this one. Also, my library hold on the Society of Unknowable Objects has come in, but given that I had just finished reading this one, I guess now 20 minutes, a half an hour ago, I wasn't quite ready to jump into another. Yes, it's a fantasy, but it's an adult fantasy, and it would have been a long slog for me. I just was not like ready to start another long adult fantasy. I just wanted something a little lighter, which is why The Language of Ghosts and not this one straight away. I really loved The Book of Doors. I know that there have been some people, Danny of Danny Dabbles in particular, who was a little bit disappointed with the Society of Unknowable Objects, but I would like to give this one a go anyway, because we have been known to disagree on our opinions on some books before. So I'll see how it goes. You know, we might be in a debate about it, or maybe not. I might end up agreeing with her that this one is not as good. But what I will say is that I do agree with Danny that The Book Book of Doors was definitely one of my favorite reads of this year. Maybe I read it last year. I can't remember exactly when I read it. It was either the beginning of this year or the very, very end of last year, but I really, really enjoyed the Book of Doors. So I will start this one, but again, it's not going to be today, tomorrow, maybe it'll be over the weekend. I have this book for 3 weeks and I could always renew it if no one else wants to borrow it. Okay, and then lastly, it's going to be sort of a short and sweet vlog this time. I just want to show you a couple of books that I picked up at a secondhand store. I got really lucky. I was killing some time waiting about a half an hour to take my daughter to a doctor's appointment because we were having some trouble with her ADHD meds. Just in case you guys don't know, one of the side effects, she's been on Vyvanse, and one of the side effects of Vyvanse is that it causes hypertension, and it was causing her blood pressure to spike up way high, and she was getting heart palpitations. So when we finally ended up diagnosing exactly what the cause was, we decided to switch her meds, and so that's sort of been our adventure this week. So if you have kids on Vyvanse, you might want to check their blood pressure and just make sure that they're not getting heart palpitations and stuff, because it went undiagnosed and undetected in my daughter's case for like a really long time. So while we were waiting for a doctor's appointment, basically to get all that sorted out, we had some extra time. So my daughter suggested that we go thrifting. That's what we did. She found, I don't have it near me, but she found about 6 or 7 Goosebumps books. For all of the talking that I do on this channel about how Goosebumps books are super rare to find here in Montreal, we seem to be doing very well finding Goosebumps books, or at least Addison is. So anyway, I actually did really well at that thrift store too. And I picked up 4 Jodi Picoult books, because if I'm not going to be reading Janice Hallett and boring you guys with all of Janice Hallett that I'm going to be reading on this channel, it's going to be Jodi Picoult, but shouldn't come as a surprise to you anyway, because I told you that I was going to try and find her backlist and read as much of her backlist as possible. Because again, this is an author who I never thought would be for me, and somehow I'm really enjoying her books. So I will tell you what they are and read you the synopses, and I'll try and do it really quick to not kind of lose your interest. If you're still here, like, subscribe, you guys are awesome. All right, so the first one I have here is Perfect Match, and this one says, in the course of her everyday work, career-driven Assistant District Attorney Nina Frost prosecutes child molesters and works determinedly to ensure that a legal system with too many loopholes keeps these criminals behind bars. But when her own 5-year-old son Nathaniel is traumatized by sexual assault, Nina and her husband Caleb, a quiet and methodical stonemason, are shattered, ripped apart by an enraging sense of helplessness in the face of a futile justice system that Nina knows all too well. In a heartbeat, Nina's absolute truths and convictions are turned upside down, and she hurtles toward a plan to exact her own justice for her son, no matter the consequence, whatever the sacrifice. So this one here is called Perfect Match. Sounds really good. The second one that I got is Vanishing Acts, and these are all in really good condition, these books, by the way. So this one says, Delia Hopkins has led a charmed life. Raised in rural New Hampshire by her beloved widowed father, she now has a young daughter, a handsome fiancé, and her own search and rescue bloodhound, which she uses to find missing persons. But as Delia plans her wedding, she's plagued by flashbacks of a life she can't recall, until a policeman knocks on her door, revealing a secret about herself that changes the world as she knows it and threatens to jeopardize her future. With Vanishing Acts, Jodi Picoult explores how life as we know it might not turn out the way we imagined, how the people we've loved and trusted can suddenly change before our very eyes, how the memory we thought had vanished could return as a threat. Once again, Picoult handles an astonishing and timely topic with understanding, insight, and compassion. So I don't know if maybe this girl was potentially stolen at birth by one or by either her parents or somebody else, and maybe discovers through genetic testing for whatever reason that she isn't related to her primary caregiver. I don't actually know what this story is about. If you guys have read it, you can let me know in the comments if I'm on point or like completely off. Again, these all sound super good, or I wouldn't have bought them. The one hardcover book that I picked up, because the rest were trade paperback, this one is called Lone Wolf, and it says, in the wilds, when a wolf knows its time is over, when it knows it is of no more use to its pack, it may sometimes choose to slip away. Dying apart from its family, it stays proud and true to its nature. Humans aren't so lucky. Luke Warren has spent his life researching wolves. He has written about them, studied their habits intensively, and even lived with them for extended periods of time. In many ways, Luke understands wolf dynamics better than those of his own family. Oh, I wonder if there's going to be like a lot of wolf research gone into this book, because in the Leaving Time book that Jodi Picoult wrote, I feel like I got an armchair experience of what it's like to be an elephant keeper, I guess. I'm looking for a word, but I feel like an expert in elephant care right now, just, you know, elephants in the wild and what they do and stuff, just from Leaving Time, from that book. So I'm wondering if it's going to be like this for this one, and then I'll get to learn a lot more about wolves, which would be really fun. But anyway, it says, in many ways, Luke get back to it. Okay, his wife George, so we were talking, what was I saying? I interrupted you guys. Okay, in many ways, Luke understands wolf dynamics better than those of his own family. His wife, Georgie, has left him, finally giving up on their lonely marriage. His son, Edward, 24, fled 6 years ago, leaving behind a shattered relationship with his father. Edward understands that some things cannot be fixed, though memories of his domineering father still inflict pain. Then comes a frantic phone call. Luke has been gravely injured in a car accident with Edward's younger sister, Kara. Suddenly, everything changes. Edward must return home to face the father he walked out on at age 18. He and Kara have to decide their father's fate together. Though there's no easy answer, questions abound. What secrets have Edward and his sister kept from each other? What hidden motives inform their need to let their father die or to keep him, or to try to keep him alive? What would Luke himself want? How can any family member make such a decision in the face of guilt, pain, or both? And most importantly, and it continues on, this is really pretty, by the way, look at all those leaves on the inside of this book, continues on in the back and it says, most importantly, to what extent have they all forgotten what a wolf never forgets, that each member of a pack needs the others and that sometimes survival means sacrifice. So this is like another tour de force, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, that's what it's going to be about. So I guess a family that sort of has to come to terms with their family secrets and stuff. I feel like if you like Liane Moriarty, you're probably going to like Jodi Picoult. So I find a lot of similarities in their books. So, but I've only read 2 Liane Moriarty's, and I have a couple of others, but I haven't read all her books. I don't know if I will read her entire backlist. And it's actually the same with Jodi Picoult. Like Mad Honey, I have no interest in reading that book. Wish You Were Here, again, no interest in reading that book. And there's the Book of Two Ways, again. There's certain books from Jodi Picoult that I have zero interest in reading. I don't know why, but there's some that I really do want to read. So anyway, these are some of them. And the last one that I picked up is called The 10th Circle. Which looks like this. It's again in trade paperback format. I did start this one. It seems good so far. 14-year-old Trixie Stone is in love for the first time. She's also the light of her father Daniel's life. A straight-A student, a pretty popular freshman in high school, a girl who's always seen her father as a hero. That is, until her world is turned upside down with a single act of violence. Suddenly, everything Trixie has believed about her family and herself seems to be a lie. Could the boyfriend who once made Trixie wild with happiness have been the one end to her childhood forever? She says that he is, and that is all it takes to make Daniel, a seemingly mild-mannered comic book artist with a secret tumultuous past he's hidden from even his family, venture to hell and back to protect his daughter. With The 10th Circle, Jodi Picoult offers her most powerful chronicle yet, as she explores the unbreakable bond between parent and child and questions whether you can reinvent yourself in the course of a lifetime or if mistakes are carried forever. So I, again, didn't know much about this book, but when I flipped through it, I thought it was really cool because they do say, I'm trying to find the page right now, but they do say that Daniel is a comic book artist, and then you get some, I have a cat scratching trying to go out. Maurice? Come here, baby. Yeah, so I'm just gonna ignore him. No, I can't ignore him. He's too loud. Here he is, you guys. This is the reason that we had to pause the video and get up and go get this screeching, because it's snowing outside and you don't want to be outside in the snow. And he doesn't want to be on camera either because he's a bit camera shy. So anyway, what I was saying, wow, this video is going to be a mess. When are they never? So yeah, there's like little comic book pages, not everywhere, but interspersed in between the prose, I guess, when the father is having kind of memories or feels, or he's working through his feels, I guess. I don't really know much, but I am about 40 pages of the way through this one, and I don't know if I'm going to finish it in November. I may not. I'm not sure. I'm kind of going slowly through this one, but yeah, that's basically going to be it. So thank you for sticking with me through this super messy vlog that I really have as filler. I'm not going to lie. The next video I will try and do for you guys will be anticipated December reads, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for hanging out today. I love you all so much, especially if you made it to the end of the video. Please go and check out the links in the description below if you guys want coupons for Book Outlet, or if you want to support the channel by clicking on the Amazon affiliates links. I would love that, and I will see you again in the next video. Ciao for now.